tell you, if I'd walked into Ford Field yesterday with a checklist, I would have walked out with pretty much every box filled up, you know? Good morning to you. Good Sunday morning from Detroit. This is a special edition of Daily Shot of Steelers. If you happen to be into hockey and baseball as well, I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates on the regular days, Monday through Friday. Lions 24, Steelers 17. Please don't be one of those people who even acknowledges preseason scores. Look instead at what the first team did. And by the first team, I principally mean the first team offense. Because they were the ones, and the only ones, by the way, that Mike Tomlin deployed in full, no exceptions, to open the game. And he did so for a deliberate and very good reason. That's that they hadn't gotten anything done in the first two preseason games. They hadn't looked anything like what they'd looked like in Latrobe or really even before or after that on the South Side. And he wanted them to have at least one uplifting experience in a stadium before things get really serious down in Atlanta. And he got it. He really got it. Opening drive, 5 plays, 60 yards, wasn't perfect. There were a couple of negative yardage sequences in there, although one of them was George Pickens making a really hard attempt to stay on his feet. And as he'd acknowledge afterward, that only motivated him that much more to get open for the 32-yard pass on 3rd and 11 that would ensue from Russell Wilson. Just a perfect ball, by the way, from the now very clear number 1 quarterback. In parentheses here, not necessarily on performance, but it's very obvious that he's Tomlin's choice. Couldn't be more obvious. End parentheses. Najee Harris with a 5-yard run to open that drive, and then Cordero Patterson with a 31-yard touchdown. And yes, he did his part. He had quite the nice shift to the right once he reached next level. But the wow from me was related to the entire offensive line and the tight ends blocking the play immaculately, left to right, no exceptions. And yet still, I'll offer an extra tip of the cap to Zach Frazier for completely sealing off his guy and sealing him off to the right. And especially, even more than that, and I got Frazier to agree with me on this, which was a good move by the rookie talking about a veteran, Isaac Seumalo led the way, chipped off Frazier's work, went out, got a linebacker, and then took the linebacker for a walk all the way to Windsor. And I asked Isaac about the block afterward, and he pointed to what everyone else did, and he said, you know what, this is how it's supposed to work. And that's the message that I hope everyone takes from this. Not that the Steelers' offense is going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen. Not that everything is awesome because of one drive when the Lions didn't even start most of their A-listers. As I've been saying for a while now, it's preseason, it's small samples, blah, blah, blah. But I've got 2 things off of that long checklist of mine, and I would have brought a long checklist in that I'd prioritize above the others. One was that the Steelers looked like the team that we've been seeing in other settings all summer. That's where the expectations are. That's where the expectations should be. I loved how Tomlin phrased this afterward when asked specifically why he pulled Wilson after just one series.
Again, we just needed results that are indicative of how we've worked. And so they were able to put together a scoring drive, and really it just provided opportunity to get Justin in there sooner.
Indicative, absolutely perfect phrase. This is who the Steelers are supposed to be, not wishful thinking. This is the level at which they should be performing because it's the level at which they have been performing. Just not in these preseason scenarios until now. 2, and let's not pretend this isn't part of it, it picked up some spirits. I don't have any doubts that they're genuine, these players are, when they say that they have confidence in this group. But I also don't have any doubts that it sure is nice to have that reinforced, you know? I asked Broderick Jones, who probably needed his spirits to be picked up as much as anyone on that side of the football. Well, here it is.
It was good. You know, it felt great going out there, getting a fast start, because we always, well, you know, that's a big thing for me is, you know, just starting fast. So just going out there and being able to get a drive going and punching it in, you know, it felt good.
You hear that little extra hop in the voice? That matters. That matters. I'll repeat, it's not necessarily going to be some super spectacular 30 points a game offense, but it is going to be a lot of the things that you did see, not just on the first drive, but also on the second drive, which was led by Justin Fields. There were some decent runs. There were some decent throws. There was one wonderful throw that Fields made over the middle, and I could detail it for you, except that all you need to hear are the three words, over the middle. There was some misdirection. There was some play action. There were a couple of deep balls. There was some power. There was a lot to like. And that is why I'd been saying that I was so disappointed in what I'd seen in the preseason before this, because I'd seen the other stuff. I'd seen this stuff. And good for them, good for all of them, for going out there and executing, maybe even reminding themselves what they're capable of. When we come back, J1Q, and you won't want to miss this one. Today's J1Q comes from Keith, who says, DK, you got to throw Nick Herbig in there, don't you? Dude's going to be a monster. Can't wait to see if the Steelers are able to get all three outside linebackers out there at the same time. You know, this subject in general is worth an entire episode, and I'm probably going to get around to doing that at some point in the coming week. But I'm going to say, for now, related to Herbig, and hear this out in its entirety before snapping at me. If I'm Alex Highsmith, I'm coming off this injury-plagued preseason and practice sessions, and he's had a groin that's limited him in the daily routine and has completely kept him out of preseason action. I'm coming back into this opener in Atlanta as motivated as I could possibly be, and understand that Alex isn't exactly one of those guys who lacks motivation, all right? But when I'm seeing someone else who plays my position, and he is generating splash after splash after splash every other snap, it seems, that's something that would have me razor sharp. This kid is something, Keith. And the one thing that I don't want to hear from anybody, not that you intimated it, is what he can't do. And I know that's a common line of discussion or debate as it relates to why Herbig does or doesn't play over Highsmith, that Highsmith is more stout against the run, that Highsmith gets off his blocks better, that Highsmith seals up his whole side and doesn't allow opponents to come his way in an attempt to avoid TJ Watt. I don't want to hear it because I'm not seeing it. I'm sure the coaches must have some kind of reason for feeling the way that they do on this subject. Otherwise, Herbig would have gotten a lot more snaps last season, and he'd be in apparently heavier consideration to get more snaps this season as well. But what I am seeing, what you're seeing, what everyone's seeing, is that this kid just gets back there. And when he gets back there, he does damage. He's not just doing the Myles Garrett thing where you get in the remote vicinity of the quarterback. You no longer have to pay roaming minutes. And as such, you're declared by morons to be the best defensive player in the league. He doesn't do that. He gets back there and gets his hand on the quarterback and gets the quarterback down and gets the football out. These are the skills that matter. These are the results that matter for an edge rusher. All this kid does is churn them out. Like chocolate bars in Hershey, it just never stops. I, Keith, do not have a voice in this. However, I want to see this young man on the field. If that means spelling TJ and Alex, making sure they're fresh, which is something that both players value, great. If that means being out there as part of a 3 outside linebacker set, which they did show again yesterday, great. The only thing that makes no sense is having someone on the sideline who can do all that. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to this special edition of Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll be back with the regular one tomorrow.